Hello friends and welcome back to Cinnamon Sanctuary. In today's video I'm going to show you how I make my brown whole wheat bread recipe. So without further ado, let's get baking. This recipe doesn't require a lot of ingredients, so to begin we're going to add 3 cups of wholemeal flour, followed by a 1/4 cup of sugar, as well as a 1/4 cup of powdered milk, a bit of salt, and approximately 1 teaspoon of grated nutmeg. And then we're going to incorporate everything very lightly and create a well in the middle to make space for the melted butter, of which we're going to be using a 1/4 cup of as well. Incorporate it again, make sure it's nicely combined. And after this we're going to add our yeast, of which we'll be using 2 teaspoons of, and then combine. It's really important that you don't mix the yeast with the salt, because the salt has the ability to kind of destroy the effects of yeast. You want your bread to bloom, and this is why I added the yeast at the last minute. So now we just added in a cup of warm water, and we're going to incorporate it all very nicely until we reach a nice dough. At this point, it's becoming harder and harder to mix the dough with a spoon, so we can now transfer it onto a work surface. So as you see, I just added a little bit of olive oil to facilitate the process. You may use flour, but I would advise against it really, because you don't want to add too much flour to your bread. You've already used the amount needed. So now we're just going to work our dough as best as we can, and there's several methods of doing this. I mean, I just combine it with both of my hands and knead through until I reach a nice elastic consistency. I find it easier to actually use one hand to do it, so I just kind of use the back of my hand and press it and roll. So I've been kneading my dough for about 6-7 minutes, and it's becoming a little bit hard, so I thought I would leave it to relax for about 5 minutes, after which I come back to work my dough again. And this is a very good tip. If you're working by hand, it's a really good idea to let it relax from time to time for about 5 minutes, and you'll find that each time you come back, the dough becomes a little bit easier to work with. I've been kneading the dough for a further 8 to 10 minutes, and you can tell it's ready. When you press it with your finger, it should spring right back up, and that's how you know that it's produced a good amount of gluten. So I'm going to let it relax again for about 10 minutes, after which we can come back and start shaping it. So I'm making 2 loaves, hence why I am cutting the dough in half, and we're just going to shape it as I will show you in a minute. We're going to flatten each piece into the shape of a rectangle, and if you prefer, you may use a rolling pin to do this, but I thought I'd just go ahead and do it with my hands. It can be done very quickly. So I'm just pressing until I reach the desired shape, and once you have achieved this, you can go ahead and roll the dough in itself. So you can see what I'm doing, and just rolling and tucking and rolling and tucking until we get to the end. Once we're done rolling, we have to ensure that the seams are sealed very tightly, because if we don't, the bread might end up opening up during the baking process. So you can see I'm sealing it up, and then we can place the dough onto the loaf tin seam side down. And then we can do the same thing with the second bit, and I'll show you what we do next. And if you enjoyed watching the video so far, please hit the like button. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I would love to have you in my family. And thank you for all of my subscribers for tuning back in. Once we're done rolling our loaves, they can now be left to proof in a warm environment for approximately an hour. I think I left mine to proof for an hour and 10 minutes, after which we can now put them in an oven that has been preheated at 165 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes to half an hour. But as I say, each oven varies greatly, so it might take longer or less long in your case, after which you'll be met with these lovely loaves right there. I left mine to bake for 35 minutes actually, because my oven is actually quite slow. And here is the end result. These came out really nicely. We have a nice slightly crisp top, but I just know that the inside is going to be very nice and soft, as you will see in a minute. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this recipe. It really doesn't take long to make at all, and I hope it will encourage you to start baking your own bread at home. It doesn't take long, doesn't require a lot of ingredients, and it is absolutely delicious. So until the next video, I hope to see you very soon, and thank you very much for watching, stopping by. Bye.